Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to our Christmas episode of...
Ho, ho.
Oh, I love
Woo!
that. Oh, God damn it.
I had to do both of them.
I was going to be like, oh, that sounds so cute.
That's what Santa Claus would be like if Santa Claus was also Ric Flair.
And on cocaine.
Yes, and well, I said Ric Flair. The guy's obviously been living off cocaine for like the last...
I don't know who that is.
He's a wrestler. He's the one who does the woo.
Oh.
Finish the intro. Sorry about
that. Welcome to our Christmas episode of the Scariest Podcast. I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz. And
Hello.
We're here to bring you some holiday spirit, I guess.
I like that we weren't even 60 seconds into our holiday Christmas special, whatever you want to call it, and cocaine was mentioned. But hey, that happens sometimes. Okay. I'm really excited to do this. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know Robin has a very fun topic, and I have a very fun one as well. But before we get to those, we're going to do what we always do, which is read the homegrown horrors that you folks have sent us. Robin, what exactly is a homegrown horror?
Our homegrown horrors are stories that you guys have sent us of your paranormal experiences, and could be super creepy, could be absolutely hilarious, could be heartwarming, and we just love the fact that you send us these experiences and we get to share them with everyone else.
Yeah, we enjoy when you guys share with us and you let us know, hey, you can share this with other people too. So it's very fun to do. And without further ado, I think we're going to go into our first one. So you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going first.
Okay, cool.
I had to think about it. I was like, am I? Okay, so this email is titled My Clairvoyant Sister, and it's from Rochelle. It goes, Hi, Adam and Grace. My name is Rochelle. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Robin, but my last name is Grace.
It's also a first name, so that happens. Like
yeah,
Bruce,
it happens a lot.
It's like, I guarantee you Bruce Wayne has it happen to him all the time. So, or Barry Allen. People are like, hey, Allen. He's like, my name is fucking Barry. And
Got
then
any more
away.
DC characters you're going to name
DC
off?
characters are almost always first name. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Clark Kent is almost that, except they put a T at the end of it. So, just saying.
Okay.
Just saying.
All right. I'm from California, and I have a whole bunch of stories which I will send you guys down the road, but I'll start with a story about my sister. My sister and I have an okay relationship, but there are times when we dig too deep under each other's skins, normal sibling fights and such. I totally believe it. Yeah.
Siblings can be such jerks. You know just what to say that's going to drive that person crazy. I watched a fight between two brothers escalate during a game of Magic the Gathering, the card game. And it was just like, oh, you're stupid for playing that card. And it's like, yeah, well, at least I didn't go to this shitty community college.
What?
And then it was like, oh, fuck, it's about to be a fist fight.
Well, for me and my sister, it's normally just like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Stop paying attention to your phone. Pay attention to me. And then it just escalates. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that happen multiple times.
I just punched her in the boob like 5 minutes ago. So, all right.
Merry Christmas. God bless us, everyone.
Okay. So, to make things short, my sister is clairvoyant and she attracts all spirits and she can't control what she sees. And she's 22, I'm 25. And even when she gets drunk, her powers go haywire. We found out that she was clairvoyant when she was little. I think she was 5 years old. And at the time, living at a house my dad and mom, when they were together, they divorced about 21 years ago. My mom's stepfather, I still call him Grandpa. He's also part Cherokee. Oh, snap.
Right.
And mother was visiting us, and they noticed when my sister started running around giggling, and me and my brother run up to her, and she would turn quick and say, no, don't bother us.
That's creepy. If she's alone, she's like, don't bother us. I would like, you're going to need to throw this sister out and get me a new one.
And she'd run off to the other part of the house. Me and my brother would shrug it off and play tag or something. One day, my grandpa pulls my dad off to the side and said, you know, there's always a little girl playing with Katrina, her little sister. And my dad looked at my grandpa with a puzzled look. He hasn't seen anyone playing with my sister, so he thought he was talking about her having an imaginary friend, so he played along and asked, what's she look like? Then, my grandpa said she was younger than my sister, and she was wearing a red dress and white shoes. As soon as he heard this, his heart sank. Turns out that was his little cousin. Her name was Rose, and she died from a heart murmur when she was just playing 1 minute, and then the next she just laid there dead. They buried her in a red dress and white shoes.
And the cops are going by in the background. That's weird. That's also super, super creepy.
That's super creepy. Super sad, though, too.
Yeah. I can't imagine someone telling me that and, like, remembering very vividly what my cousin was buried in, and then someone describing exactly what my cousin looked like. That would be just, I don't know, heart-wrenching.
And that was not all that happened. My grandpa said every time that she looked at my grandpa and grandma, she would look sad. Then he told him that there was another spirit, and he said that it was always shrouded in darkness and always lingered around my dad, but it would never attack him. It would attack my grandpa and grandma, And I'll tell that story another time. Anyways, that was the first of many. I hope you guys enjoy and always be creeping.
Aw, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rochelle. That is super sad. And
I can
super
only
weird.
imagine how freaked out your dad was when he heard that.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. But thank you for sharing your story with us.
We
Hopefully
definitely
we hear
appreciate
your
it.
other ones.
Indeed, yeah. If you have more, definitely send them our way. So, good stuff. Good start. So, I will move over into mine, and its subject is homegrown horror. So you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're a fan of the show. And it starts out like this. Hey-o.
Hey. Oh.
Because there's a lot of O's on that. Hey, what's up? How's it going, guys? Ian here. I love the podcast. I'm a listener from Spotify. Shout out Spotify. And I listen every day while I'm at work. Just to preface this story, I don't believe in the paranormal stuff, so I approach things trying to find a logical explanation, even if it 100% seems to be ghostly. I love to explore abandoned places and adventure, but I personally only do so at night because I feel safe being able to slip into the shadows if need be. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, if you're afraid of finding, like, actual people, you want to be able to hide, so that totally makes sense. I was out with a friend about 1 a.m. exploring an abandoned factory. The factory had 5 levels, and it was very maze-like with little to no lighting. This is how people die. I'm just saying, like, abandoned factory.
I can't do with the darkness and the in the middle of nowhere type stuff.
I'm always sure to bring 4 things: rope, knife, light, and a med kit. I've run across many squatters, and most were not friendly. Anyway, we were in the factory for about an hour when we heard things getting thrown around and moved. As with most factories, this one had its fair share of deaths before it closed, and so my friend immediately thought it was a ghost.
Wow.
He got spooked when a noise in the next room echoed through the building. I hate when people are loud and scared, and he was bawling like a baby.
Aw,
That's
so mean.
funny. I told him to get the fuck out.
Shut up.
While I watched his back, and of course he left to wait in the car very noisily. I had a feeling he was going to be followed, so I threw a chain I found across the room opposite of where he went. As soon as it landed, I heard the light rubber on concrete moving towards it.
Oh, and what?
I don't know. In parentheses, it says, I wear Converse with felt on the bottom, so I walk almost silently. I decided to try and find the, quote, ghost. So I think
So it was like squeaky, you could hear squeaky rubber
I think he's
steps.
hearing what he thinks are shoes.
Okay.
So, okay, let's keep going. I went to see who or what it was, so I snuck up to a brick ledge about 10 feet off the floor and made my way to the noise. Once I reached the general area, I began to look around for the source. That's when I saw a dark figure about 25 feet away from me, huddled just inside of the doorway of a connecting room. I wanted to figure out what it was, so I threw a bolt against the wall next to the figure, and it retreated further into the darkness. I just feel like it's another adventurer out there, like getting shit thrown at it.
Oh,
and we're gonna get
they're probably freaked out.
We'll probably get an email later, like, I went to this abandoned factory, and, like, a chain got thrown at my feet, and then a chain link got thrown at the wall next to me, and I heard the sounds of some girl crying.
Oh, my gosh.
We'll see what happens. Okay, let's finish this out. At this moment, I heard my friend calling my name in a scared voice. The figure reappeared and began moving towards my stupid friend's voice. I knew my friend was in danger when I saw a flash of silver in the figure's hand. It was a massive knife.
What?
I assume he picked it up somewhere from the factory and was planning to use it on my friend. I crept up about 10 feet behind him and pulled out my light and knife and turned on the light while I yelled at him to get the fuck out of my way or he was going to die.
Oh my goodness.
That scared the shit out of him and he took off running, and so did I, to make sure my friend was okay.
That escalated quickly.
Right? I found him and called him every name under the sun and told him he owes me Waffle House. And that is one of my sketchy, scary experiences I've had. Thanks, guys. Keep up the awesomeness. Peace out. That one
escalated quickly.
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
one wasn't so much like we saw a spooky spirit or a shadow moving in the dark.
We
almost got murdered.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. Anyone who has the idea to put felt on their shoes so they can move silently, it's
ninjas.
Like, I was gonna say really, really creepy to have that thought in your head. What you need to do is find yourself a shoe with a rubber sole, and then you sand it down so that you don't leave any footprints, so that they can't follow you. Like, felt will leave very distinct things.
Why are you just?
I'm just saying. I've done stuff like this before. Felt leaves very distinct, like, stuff behind. If they find felt and then they find shoes that have felt like fucking hot glued to it, they're gonna know it was you. I mean, that's to be said for, like, you know, footprints not showing up and then you having a rubber sole of your shoe completely filed down.
Yeah.
But hey, to each his own.
Okay.
So that was good stuff. Good start to the show. That was a bit creepier than I expected.
Yeah.
For the I was gonna say
I don't know what's
Halloween.
creepier, the story or the fact that you're like, nah. Sand your shoes down.
Always carry ammonia with you if you ever need to ruin
Also,
blood evidence for the
wear
police can't
shoes
use
that
it.
aren't your size.
I didn't say that.
No, but I'm just saying.
That's smart, though.
Yeah.
Bigger or smaller? I would think smaller because it would be easier to move.
Bigger.
But they could fly off you.
Well, if you wear bigger, then someone's going to assume a small person couldn't do it.
Yeah, but if you were smaller, they're going to assume you couldn't cram your feet into that shit.
Ah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Thinking.
you're so smart.
You can always wear up. Wearing
my
down is
God.
difficult, so
Don't do these things.
don't carry ammonia with you to ruin blood evidence. I'm just kidding.
All right.
I got that from Boondock Saints.
Okay. Is it my turn now?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
if you
okay.
want to start out with your topic for the show, Robin, what are you going to be covering this week?
So I just wanted to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody celebrating all your different winter Yuletide events.
Indeed.
And to celebrate, I thought it'd be really fun to share the story of Krampus.
See, I kind of have heard of Krampus. I know Krampus is a thing, so I'm kind of excited to be educated on this one.
I'm not sure how many people know of its existence, but it's definitely not just something that was made for a horror movie. Like, it obviously existed way before then and is just now recently being put into mainstream culture and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know what makes me feel better, though, like the fact that it's just for a movie or the fact that it actually might be a thing.
I don't know.
Like,
I think it's scarier to think that it's been around for a long time, but like, so has pretty much everything that's been put into like movies. You know, it's just all variations of stuff.
yeah.
So,
Krampus is actually a being from Central European folklore made to strike fear into misbehaving, entitled children. I added the entitled part because I think kids can be dicks sometimes.
I agree.
For those everybody knows that. I'm sure however many episodes, I'm always like, kids freak me out.
Anyone who's ever met a kid has probably wanted to punch a kid in the face at least once. But I will say, anyone who is a friend on the Spooky Friends group online on our Facebook page, someone posted an Austrian festival. I'm pretty sure it was Austrian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of what they do to like ward off Krampus.
Oh, cool.
And it's like they're dragging like a ball filled with fire on chains. It's fucking cool. Go check that out. Facebook.com/ScaryAgePodcast. Join the group and check that out. Shout out to whoever it was that put that on there because it's a really cool video.
Yeah. During this holiday season, while we celebrate by letting kids imagine a chubby old man in a red suit coming down our chimneys and giving them presents, there are others out there that are fearing a horned anthropomorphic goat demon out there.
Wow.
Punishing all the bad kids.
There's some good words. Anthropomorphic goat demon.
Yup.
That, you know what that reminds me of? I'm pretty sure is one of the house hauntings that we talked about. It might have been Amityville, where they had like the pig demon that was standing behind the little girl when the dad like looked up in the window.
Yeah.
Turns out it was Krampus. It was around December too.
Oh, shit!
This shit all makes sense now.
That's the one where they went outside and they saw footprints come up to the house.
Oh no, they saw footprints around like their woodshed
Oh,
and
okay.
they went outside. I'm pretty sure that was Amityville. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the demon, but I think the kid was like, it's named Clarice or something like
Oh
that.
my God.
That name's sticking out of my head because of Silence of the
Okay.
Lambs. Keep going.
Anyway, he's definitely the one that they send after all the kids on the naughty list.
So that's where Santa sends his naughty list.
Yeah.
He's like, have
To
these
Krampus.
kids killed.
Catholicism has Saint Nicholas, the patron saint of children, and his saint days, because saints all have their own days of the year. His saint days occur during early December, and modern times have turned him into a Yuletide staple, someone who represents the good in people during the holidays. And Krampus partners up with jolly old Saint Nick in places like Austria, Croatia, Hungary, Slovakia, and a whole slew of other countries.
I have questions.
What?
So you're saying they partner up together. I'm sure you're going to get to it. What it sounds to me is like they're taking like a joint Uber to the same place, and they're checking this list like,
Yeah.
okay, are you going in to give them presents or am I going in to kill them?
Yeah.
Make sure we get this right. We can't have any mistakes like last year, fat man.
Oh my God.
I'm acting like Krampus right now.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be polite. I'm just saying. He's there to murder children.
There are even parades and events to celebrate Krampus, and there are even Krampus cards now called Krampuskarten. These cards usually portray him as a menacing monster with a pervy side chasing some big-boobed women.
So he likes to kill kids and chase big boobs.
I guess so.
He's getting fleshed out as a character. He's still kind of two-dimensional though.
Some pictures of people dressed up as Krampus during these events are super creepy, all over the internet. And I'm just like, you guys are so talented, but also demons because they're so scary looking.
Where are they at? Are they at like a titty bar because that's what Krampus is into?
No, during the Krampus celebrations. That's just what they,
Okay.
yeah. I personally really like the idea of Krampus because everything always has a light side and a dark side, like good and evil. And I just think, like, what fun is there if it's just like one-dimensional?
What fun is there if it's just a guy who's being nice, inspiring the good in people, and giving gifts out that they really want?
Krampus isn't necessarily evil, though. He's more like a justice warrior, where he's like, you were bad, and bad things have to happen to you. But he doesn't hurt the innocent kids.
So what you're saying is, without evil, there can be no good, so it must be good to be evil sometimes.
Is that a song?
It's a South Park song that I've been singing for the last week.
Oh, is it the one that Satan sings?
Yes,
Oh my
it
goodness.
totally is.
Okay.
I'm not going to say more because Comedy Central is notorious for copyright strikes.
All right. So, an article on the National Geographic website says that Krampus is derived from the German word Krampen or claw, but when I Google translate it, Krampen just came out as cramps in Dutch, and claw is like Klau in German. So
it sounds like someone had the idea like Santa Claus. Like, what if Santa Claus had actual claws?
Are you talking about Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, I told you I haven't seen it. I fall asleep every time I watch it.
That's why he's called Sandy Claus.
I don't know.
You need to watch it
and
stay awake all the way through.
I've never even gotten to the part where they meet.
It's
Santa
Christmas,
Claus.
and you're going to have to watch it.
I've gone to Nightmare Before Christmas.
Tonight we're going to watch Die Hard, though.
Yeah, it's fucking
Okay.
Christmas Eve. We're watching Hans Gruber get thrown off Nakatomi Plaza. It has to happen.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't speak either of these languages, so those that do, let us know. But a whole bunch of different websites were like, Krampen means claw, and when I Google translated it, that's not what it said.
Google Translate's not the best. It says
No.
pendejo means like stupid. And I'm like, pendejo means asshole.
Yeah.
That is not correct.
But it's just, how can you, like, do something wrong, like the word claw, you know? I don't know how you do that wrong. I don't know. I don't speak the languages. Someone who speaks German or Dutch or whatever, Austrian, please let us know. I really want to know.
This is going to start an argument between Google Translate and whoever reaches out to us, and this is going to become the Robot Wars.
Oh, oh my God. Skynet's going to come down and murder us all. So,
Good reference.
the same article says that he's said to be the son of Hel in Norse mythology, and it shares characteristics of creatures in Greek mythology, like satyrs and fauns.
Right.
So, this creature, Krampus, has existed throughout all this
Maybe he just has a
history.
bunch of different names.
Yeah.
This one in particular, maybe he's a brand of demon or whatever you'd call them, and this one's just been assigned the Christmas duty. Maybe they rotate. Maybe it's a different Krampus every time. Kind of like
Maybe.
Mall Santas, where it's like,
Mall
I gotta
Santas.
kill kids this year? Shit. That's such a long shift.
There are a few different variations to how he looks, but he's definitely half goat, half demon.
Horns
And
claws.
some even believe that he represents the horned god, which is supposedly popular entity in witchcraft. And we don't know. We don't know if that's true or not because we don't know anything about
I'm going to
witchcraft.
say this. I'm going to put this out there, and I'm only requesting maybe text message or email. But Krampus, if you're listening, hit us up.
Oh
Let
my
us know
God.
what's
Don't
going
hit
on.
me up because I don't want
You
that.
can hit me up.
I know I've done bad things this year.
Please don't come by, but like just send us an email and let us know what we're getting wrong. If we
Okay.
get a fucking email from a Google account that's like Krampus69@gmail.com, I'm going to laugh my ass off.
okay.
Please don't do that, by the way.
No, but yeah, so this where I literally am just reading what's on the internet and portraying it to you. So we don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, he is usually portrayed as dark and hairy with cloven hooves and the horns of a goat. And some renditions have him sporting the asymmetrical look of one cloven hoof and one bear-like claw.
That's weird. So he's like Man Bear Pig.
And the pictures are really interesting. And maybe I'll have you post some pictures on Christmas on Instagram so you guys can check it out.
Cool.
But it's really cool. And he also has fangs and a long pointed tongue that you can kind of think like Gene Simmons from Kiss.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm sure Krampus likes to rock and roll
I was going to say.
all night.
And party every day.
Yeah.
Maybe in his off time, because he doesn't want to be recognized, he puts on makeup and performs in a fucking band.
Oh, my God. I bet.
Gene Simmons, hit us up and let us
Oh
know
my
if you're
God.
Krampus. We need to know now.
So he carries chains thought to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian church. And he also whips his chain back and forth.
Wow. You have to say it so musically.
Okay. And in this way, with the chains, he kind of seems like he's a slave almost, because he appears only to fulfill his sole job of punishing children. And like you were saying earlier, maybe he's just like...
Maybe it's a job.
Right.
Maybe it's not his like sworn duty. He's like, fuck yeah. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like, I have to do this. That sucks, but I guess I have to do it. It's like, if you have a job, even if you don't like your job, you're going to put pride into your job. You know, like when we worked retail, we were really good at what we did. That doesn't mean we loved ringing people out who were shitting all over us, but we were going to be really good at it. And it doesn't matter what you do. Like even when you're a kid, you daydream like when you're vacuuming, like people are watching you and being like, wow, look at those vacuum tracks. He's really good at what he does. Maybe that's just me. I've always been like performing for an audience that doesn't exist when I'm trying to be good at something.
All I know is that you moms out there that think you're God's gift to everyone, that you're allowed to make checkout people cry, stop that. Like, no, sorry.
I think if you have a, can I speak to the manager haircut, and you act like shit to other human beings during holidays, retail workers should be allowed to pin you to the ground and shave your fucking head and throw you out of the store.
I get it. Moms have it hard. Moms have it really fucking hard. And I don't have kids yet, so I don't know. But that doesn't give you a right to make people cry because you're not getting your way.
This is just a general rule for life. If you have something going on in your life that's hard for you to deal with, and you pass that shit on to someone else, like you think you have an excuse to be shitty to someone else, that is just horrible.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to treat someone else bad because someone's being bad to you. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it's just a shitty thing. And you shouldn't especially do it to people that are stressed out and working their butt off on the holidays.
Yeah.
Also, don't do it to food workers. But if you do, I think you're going to get what's coming to you. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Spit sounds. Okay. No, but I know, like, for me, at least, I've had so many people make me cry when I worked at GameStop, and it just sucked. A lot.
I've never cried. I have that different mindset. I've been yelled at a lot. Most of the times, I just keep my mouth shut. One time, I told someone to get out, and I had to call the cops and have them throw him out. And then another time, I told the guy if he didn't leave, I was going to fight him. And then I came around the counter, and he ran. Because he was just such a fucking asshole. People are just such jerks. That one happened in front of a crowd of people too. So that's crazy. It was during a midnight launch. Like people were lined up and we were still open for business.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to like be a jerk and make a scene. And I was like, I just want you to know, man, like if this counter wasn't between the two of us and I wasn't an employee, I would knock you the fuck out right now.
The ones for me, it's like, I want to return this. And I'm like, the return information on the back literally says, we cannot return this. And then they start yelling at you about, you're going to return this. And I'm just like, I can't handle the stress. Like my dad was saying the other day, I don't know if I mentioned it in the episode or anything, but he was like, oh yeah, if you just like yell at her just a little bit, she'll start crying.
Oh God, don't tell people that. Don't tell them your weaknesses.
Oh no, I'm way stronger now. So, but that was when I was like, I was young and didn't know how to handle shit. And now I'm just like, I ain't putting up with your shit. I've been with you for so long. I know how to handle it now.
I'm glad. There's two things that I liked about working retail. One is when you had to get your manager because they were complaining at you and you got your manager and they told him the exact same thing and you got to stand there and smirk at them like, yeah, eat shit. And then that gets upgraded if you become a manager because they're like, I want to speak to your manager. It's like, oh, hang on. You turn around and you turn back around like, how can I help you? I am the manager, bitch. What's up? Get out of my store.
Yeah. It's power.
It is. I want to own my own business just so I can treat people like shit. Like, yeah, maybe it'll close, but I won't get yelled at by corporate because guess what? I am corporate, bitch. What's up?
Oh, my God. Okay. Anyway, continuing on to how Krampus actually looks, other than his chain whipping back and forth. He also has the special Christmas touch of having bells of various sizes on him.
Did you say Christmas?
Christmas touch. He also carries a bundle of birch branches, which are symbols of an ancient pagan initiation rite to occasionally swat at children. Because
my dad did that too. Apparently my dad was Krampus.
So did Adrian Peterson. Oh!
Wow.
Oh, man.
He got 1,000-yard season this year. Who's laughing now?
Yeah, and
the Redskins
he's not on
still
my team.
suck, though.
All right, so
shout out to Redskins fans. You guys were having a good year. Then your quarterback got hurt. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before. The Redskins quarterback broke his leg in the exact same place Joe Theismann broke his leg on the exact same day. It was like a 30-year anniversary of it happening on the exact same yard line it's just bizarre. It's like the anniversary of it happening in the exact same spot on the field, the exact same break, which is a horrific break, and Joe Theismann was in the stands watching.
It's cursed.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. That was some coincidental shit. Like, that was just, and Joe Theismann just watching it happen, like, holy shit, that happened to me. It ended my career. That was creepy. When I was watching, I'm like, that's horrific. That guy's career might be over. He might lose his fucking leg. And then they started talking about, like, it's the 33-year anniversary, and it was the 36-yard line or whatever it was. It all lined up. That was
crazy.
super creepy.
All right. lots of tangents this episode. Anyway.
Lots of tangents every episode. If you're listening, I hope you've come to expect this.
Okay, so this guy is definitely a weird one. Sometimes the branches are replaced with a whip instead. So he likes to whip kids. This guy's just... Krampus is kind of weird.
But he's kind of got some style to him. He's making it his own.
I just imagine, like, he walks around with, like, Christmas lights on his horns, and he's super adorable.
You're making him adorable.
I think it'd be super cute. Anyway, he would not be complete without a sack or basket that he has strapped to him for kidnapping bad children to either drown, eat, or take to hell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of those, okay, this is like Mary Bang Kill. Of those three options, Robin, would you rather be drowned, eaten, or taken to hell?
Oh, God, I would rather be drowned.
Really?
Yes.
I think drowned is my least.
What? You'd rather be eaten?
I almost drowned when I was a kid, and I have nightmares about it still. Shout out to Ryan, my cousin. He saved my life. Just saying.
But, like, you'd rather... Okay, when you're eaten... Are you slaughtered mercifully and then eaten, or are you eaten alive?
I imagine you're eaten alive and it takes several days.
Yeah, no, I'd rather drown. It's quicker.
I'm going to go with being eaten alive because I imagine hell would be me drowning like forever or me being eaten alive repeatedly. But if I'm eaten, it's over and then I don't have to experience drowning.
I imagine going to hell would be like being Dean and getting sent to hell. And you're just there getting your skin ripped off of you over and over.
I think you have to relive like your biggest fear constantly. We should do one about hell. That would be a really fucked up episode. It's like Hellraiser. This is Christmas. This is the opposite of that. So,
all right. Anyway,
back to Krampus.
In Croatia, Krampus is described as a devil wearing a cloth sack around his waist and chains around his neck, ankles, and wrists. So chains seem to be pretty predominant.
It's hot. I like what he's into.
Anyway. Apparently, Krampus is theorized to date back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions.
I got really excited because I thought you were going to tell me who Krampus dates. I was going to be like, fuck yeah, this is some TMZ shit for this cryptid.
Once Christianity became the dominating religion, pagan entities took on different meanings. So Christmas took over and individuals like Krampus began being associated with the devil and being placed in whatever position they saw fit. And according to the internet, Krampus was teamed up with St. Nicholas by the 17th century and was incorporated into Christian winter celebrations. And in the 1920s, the Catholic Church, as well as countries like Germany and Austria, where there were government entities, where they were like, Krampus is prohibited. So during the Dollfuss regime, Krampus was like, you can't use Krampus. He is like the devil. He was described as like an evil man, and so it was illegal to celebrate him.
I can't imagine why they would think he's evil.
Towards the end of the 20th century, it made a resurgence and continues to this day. It's not the only time that Krampus has been put down, and I get the feeling that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, because I don't think there's any government that's going to be like, oh, no, dog.
Honestly, it kind of reminds me of Futurama, where they have Santa, but Santa's like super evil. So it's like if Krampus decides to finally take over instead of Santa, I feel like that's what would happen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the Christmas episodes of Futurama.
Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, is celebrated on December 5th in certain parts of Europe.
Super early.
And it's the night before the Feast of St. Nicholas.
That makes sense.
And Krampus appears either with Santa Claus or on his own. And he visits homes and businesses. St. Nicholas only deals with the good kids, whereas Krampus handles the bad. So it's either a gift from the big guy or coal and a whooping from the demon.
It's better than being eaten, drowned, or dragged to hell, though.
I guess. If you happen to be one of the children to be spirited away, you are punished until you're repentant for your actions.
So you're punished until you're sad. I imagine you'll be pretty repentant while you're like on that fucking sleigh knowing you're going to get tortured.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a sleigh. Because he just puts you in a sack and you're spirited away. I don't know if they actually have a sleigh.
I just picture them like splitting this Uber. Like,
okay.
Krampus is in the back. Santa's in the front driving. Krampus is like, why can't I fucking drive?
It's customary to offer Krampus schnapps during this time, too.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
This
got
guy,
class.
he's kind of fucking cool. I'm not going to lie.
It's an old Christian tradition for kids to leave their shoes out overnight to see what they'll get in them. And some kids even leave carrots in them for St. Nicholas's donkeys to eat. And
Because, St. Nicholas has donkeys.
and don't forget that you got to put out the schnapps for Krampus, too. Got needs. Everyone's got needs.
Imagine being a dad. Like, let's just say none of this is real. And as a dad, you had to pretend you were both Krampus and Santa or St. Nick or whatever. And you drank all the schnapps, and then you saw your kid's shoes, and you're like, I'm going to put just whatever I find. It's like the kid wakes up with like a cheese stick in one shoe, and then your kid that was being a jerk to you had like poop in their shoes.
Oh, my God.
You're like, yeah, that's what you get.
Anyway, the morning of Niklaustag, or St. Nicholas Day, children look outside to see if the shoe/boot they've left out the night before contains presents of candy and small toys for the good or a rod for the bad. And in Styria, bundles of twigs are painted gold and displayed in the house year-round as a present from Krampus to remind any child who's forgotten about him.
I like that tactic.
Yeah,
It's like having Elf on a shelf the whole year, except you have
Yep.
this bundle of sticks. It's like, he will steal you and eat you if you act like a
or
little
he's going to
asshole.
whip you with it.
I mean, yeah, if you're not like a severe violator, but I don't know many kids who would deserve just a little bit of a beating and not like being kidnapped and devoured.
Who knows? In the area of southeast Austria, Krampus may or may not have a number of other frightful companions. It depends on where you are and what lore, but there are a whole bunch of different companions that are talked about.
So it's like Thanos in the Black Order versus just Thanos everywhere else.
Sure.
Yeah, he has a crew who's rolling with him, who's also evil, just not as strong.
In Salzburg, Austria, Krampus is more tourist-friendly and humorous because they have festivals and stuff like that. And in, I don't know how to say this correctly, Cave del Predil in Italy, there's an annual Krampus festival held in early December. People dressed as Krampus emerge from an old cave and chase people, punishing them with smacking their legs.
I like this. Let's go to Italy. This sounds like so much fun.
Children and young people must recite a prayer in order to sate his anger. A bunch of places actually do have something like this. They're starting to actually do stuff in America as well. It's like a marathon or run of sorts, where it's just a bunch of people running around in chaos.
Like a Krampus 5K?
It's called Krampuslauf or something like that. So Krampus Run. And it's just a whole bunch of people. More than 1,200 Austrians gather in Schladming, Styria each year to dress up as Krampus and do this. So it's kind of cool.
That is fun.
Croatian tradition has good children receive a gift of a golden branch from St. Nicholas to represent all their good deeds throughout the year. And Krampus takes the gifts for himself and leaves a silver branch to represent a child's bad behavior.
Fucking sucks.
He's a Grinch.
What's really funny is if you get a silver branch, it's basically like you had some really cool stuff and Krampus took it all because you're a stupid little asshole.
Yeah, I mean, some kids deserve it.
I don't know. Some kids grow up poor thinking that they're a jerk the whole time, but really their parents couldn't just afford them to give gifts.
Yeah, no. The ones that can't afford it, I feel bad. That's why we donate to toy drives. Donate to entities that help those.
Yeah.
That
the last
can't
toy
afford it.
I gave to a toy drive was Jesse from Breaking Bad in his meth cooking suit.
Wow.
And I was like, I really hope a kid appreciates this
Oh
out
my
there.
goodness. Okay. Continuing on. Pop culture has actually made creatures like Krampus more acceptable. Obviously with shows like Supernatural, Grimm, things like that make it kind of cool
Right.
to be into that stuff. In with the non-traditional, I think, is going on with this generation.
People are just looking for stuff that they haven't heard of before that's fun to experience or learn about, you know? And it's like,
Right.
It's just fodder for any sort of TV or book or movie, you know? Because everyone's looking for something new and
Yeah.
nothing is new. It's just old made new again because everyone forgot about it.
Like all the remakes of all the old shows that are going on now.
Exactly.
We are definitely all aware of North America taking on Krampus in movies and TV. Because there is that Krampus movie.
Which I do want to see.
Cities like Washington, D.C. and New Orleans are having their own Krampusnacht. And Austria is even attempting to commercialize the idea of Krampus by selling things like chocolates, figurines, collectible horns, etc., stuff like that. And I would hella buy some amazing freaking horns.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I would totally buy some. And you cosplay enthusiasts know what I'm talking about. Like, I can't believe how well some people make them, where I'm like, I wish I could afford that. It's really expensive.
Some people are
but
very
it's really
talented,
good.
yeah.
People are already complaining about Krampus being a little too mainstream. And I'm just like hipsters.
Right?
Just
Fucking
cut that shit.
hipsters.
I'm just
Do you
like,
support something? Because if so, you want it to go mainstream.
it's kind of exciting to see all this growth with all this non-traditional stuff coming out and Krampus coming out. And I just imagine like how cool would it be years down the line where it's like, we have Krampus cards in store now and they're starting to sell Krampus toys, and like it starts becoming a thing where people start telling their kids more often, like, if you're bad, Krampus is gonna come and fucking eat you.
Or
You
like
know what
on
I
Christmas Eve, dressing up like Krampus and beating your kids with
Oh
a
my
stick.
god. No, but I just think it'd be really cool to have something different, you know. And it's perfect for those that love Halloween and never want it to end.
That's true.
It's just a great way for us weirdos to celebrate constantly. And if you haven't seen anything about Krampus, check out the movie called Krampus. I think it's on Netflix, or it was at one point. And check it out. Strike some fear into your naughty children this season.
Nice.
Hashtag bring back Krampus.
Wow. That's a good hashtag.
Yeah.
That's a good topic. I really enjoyed that, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was really cute.
I gotta say, Krampus has some scary stuff about him, like dragging you to hell, eating you and such, but I like his style.
Justice Warrior.
There's a lot of detail in Krampus, like the chains, he drinks schnapps, like he has a favorite alcohol. What's Santa's favorite alcohol? Milk. That sucks. He's eventually going to become lactose intolerant, I'm just saying. And guess what? Then you'll be leaving schnapps out, and you might get a little bit confused about which one you're bringing to your house.
Oh my goodness.
So, right on. Did you have anything else, or is that the end of Krampus?
No, that is the end of Krampus.
Cool. So, I guess I'll move on into mine. So this week, I wanted to do something a little different because we talked about what we were going to try and cover, and I knew Robin was bringing some of the scary-ish stuff with Krampus, and I kind of wanted to go the other way just for this episode. Especially since the day this episode comes out is, in fact, Christmas, I wanted to do something a little bit more uplifting.
All right.
And that's not to say there won't be some bizarre stuff in here, because like usually what I cover at least has some weird stuff. But I did want to like leave it on a different note than I normally hit because it's the holiday season. So, dear listener, I present to you what I'm calling Christmas miracles.
Nice.
So a few things before I get into it. This is in no way meant to offend anyone who isn't Christian or doesn't celebrate Christmas. Robin had a similar disclaimer to hers. And there's a lot of folks out there who are like that. And this is meant to do one particular thing. It's to cover incredible, documented, real-life events that took place on or around the Christmas holiday. And hearing about something incredible that happened is something that I think everyone can enjoy hearing regardless of like your background. So it's just a fun thing for us to do. And like I was raised a Lutheran, and like eventually we stopped going to church because of reasons. And at this point I'm basically like a Christian agnostic because I have like particular beliefs, but I also believe that I really don't know and I'll never know, and that's totally fine with me. So that's like kind of where I sit on Christmas, and like facts about Christmas, like where this tradition came from, some of the stuff you were talking about, like that doesn't offend me or trigger me or anything like that. So I'm hoping that you folks are the same way. Because like theologians strongly believe, based off of everything they can put together, that like December 25th wasn't actually Jesus's birthday. They place it at a different time. Most of the time they place it like in the summer. Some say April, some say August. It just depends on like what person you're reading from, and it's all coming after the fact. And then like in 325 AD, that's when they had the Council of Nicaea, where they sat down and like picked dates for everything. And I think it's just funny because people get so pissed off and they talk about like the war on Christmas and stuff like that. And it's like, well, here's the thing, like it's the thought that counts. You hear all those things about what Christmas is supposed to be about. Right. So like, let's just focus on that. And like, it's funny to me when people get triggered about like stuff like the day of Christmas, because it's like growing up, we thought my grandpa's birthday was in the summer. And we used to celebrate it all the time. And it's what's funny to me is I'm pretty sure we thought it was June. And then one of my family members, I don't remember exactly who, decided that they wanted to get some awards my grandfather had won in World War II, the Purple Heart and some other ones, given to him because he had never filled out the paperwork to get it. And then there was some other like government benefits because he was up there in age that he was entitled to because he was a veteran. And he had also like worked at the steel mill for a very long time. So he just had to have some stuff filled out. But the one thing that we had to have to get all that taken care of was his birth certificate.
Oh, wow.
So they hunted it down. And guess what? His birthday was actually in the winter.
That's crazy.
I'm sure he knew and just decided not to tell anyone, but his birthday was actually like December. And we had been celebrating it on the wrong day the whole fucking time, like my whole life and for most of their life too. So like, does that mean all of our previous celebrations meant anything less because we were celebrating on the wrong day? Absolutely not. And going forward, we wound up celebrating both dates because it was fun. Because it was like, this is Grandpa's fake birthday. This is Grandpa's real birthday.
Yeah.
And it was just both big celebrations. And it was fun to have 2 birthdays for him because he deserved it. So, like, the date that JC was actually born, JC meaning Jesus Christ,
gosh.
isn't important.
I think that's blasphemous.
What is important is that the council back in 325 knew this too. They were like, what is important is that everyone picks a date so we can all get together and celebrate.
Right.
So if you're a Christian and it angers you when you hear that, like, well, that might have not been the date, don't let it anger you. Just be like, this is the appointed day that we're all going to celebrate this one particular event.
Well, like us, we're not really celebrating on the 25th because we're having our friends miss on the 27th anyway. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just whatever you want.
So it's not something that should ever make you angry. It's something that's meant to bring you close together with your family during this time where you can celebrate. You're also not supposed to go bankrupt trying to buy people fucking gifts. So don't do that to yourself. I mean, you're listening to this at the earliest on Christmas, so it's probably a bit too late. So some advice for next year. But that's the point I'm trying to make here is that, like, this whole holiday season has background and history, and knowing stuff about it, that knowledge that you want to get, that's an absolute good thing, and that should never trigger you. So now that we've gone through all of that stuff about Christmas, here's some of the stuff that's been described as miraculous that has happened on or around the said date that we just discussed, December 25th. Because this is a date that's actually had a lot of stuff happen. But if you look at the history of any date, that's kind of true. But some of this stuff is kind of incredible. So, first of all, we're talking about on or around. So I want to give a shout out to my friend Nick, one of my best friends.
Isn't his birthday today?
His birthday is today.
Or, well, the 24th.
He was born on, that is today. I mean, the day we're recording, yeah. He was born on Christmas Eve. He's a beautiful miracle. I hate you because you don't listen, but whatever.
He doesn't listen?
I don't think he does. I'm sure I'll get a text message if he does. And my friend Scott was born on the 22nd. He's one of the most wonderful human beings ever, so shout out to him. Shout out to both of them. Now I'm going to get into the actual stuff. So this is a quote-unquote miracle that's a little bit older, and I really love this one. I'd heard about it before. I didn't realize it was the date in mind. I just kind of heard like loosely about this. So back in the early 1900s, they had this thing, and it was called war. I don't know if you've heard of this before. And there was a big one.
What is it good for?
I hate you. Absolutely nothing. But there was a big one that started on July 28th, 1914, and it was called World War I. At the time, they called it the Great War or the War to End All Wars, because you don't call something at the time World War I, because you're hoping that 2 and 3 and 4 won't eventually come, because they didn't realize the sequel potential that this thing had for a franchise.
World War II happened like right after it too.
It was like, this one ended in 1918. World War II started in 1939. So it took 21 years, which isn't that long. It was short enough of a gap where the people that were in World War I, a lot of them had to go back to World War II. Can you imagine that shit?
Yeah, nope.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
So World War I in particular, and the reason why this is so horrific is because World War I was so bloody and muddy and disgusting and horrible. And they had trench warfare and mustard gas and tricornered bayonets. And these things are all just like
murder.
It's just awful. And it lasted for 4 years. Like tricornered bayonets, it's like literally like a triangle bayonet,
which
and
are
not
illegal
a flat
now.
Knife. It's illegal. All the countries got together afterwards. They signed the Geneva Convention.
That's what the UN is for.
And they basically said, like, look, tricornered bayonets, you can't stitch those wounds. The people bleed out. It's a horrible death. No one wants to do it anymore. And everyone agreed, like, no more tricornered bayonets. And they don't have them anymore. And that shit happened in World War I. So it was just horrific. And there were so many countries involved all over the globe. But on December 7th, 1914, which is like, I don't know, 71 years before my friend Jimmy was born. Shout out to Jimmy.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
This frenzied and furious fighting was raging because this war started in 1914 in the middle of the year. So everyone's trying to establish position and basically get the upper hand during this war. And then this thing happened on December 7th, 1914, where Pope Benedict the 15th said, "Yo, dogs, wouldn't it be tight if everyone took a break from fighting and just chilled on Christmas?" And that sounds like a great idea, right? Like, it actually inspired the song, "Why Can't We Be Friends?"
No way.
And as a side note, it did not inspire the song, "Why Can't We Be Friends?" That was a joke.
I hate you.
I knew you were going to do that. But not everyone thought the Pope had a great idea. Like, all the countries involved were like, no, that will absolutely not happen. And all the participants of the war refused the idea of any sort of ceasefire. And the fighting raged on, and these nations of people just kept killing each other, and soldiers were dying. It was basically the worst of humanity on display. And then something about World War I that I remember distinctly that I mentioned was the trench warfare. And for those of you who haven't heard of it, basically deep trenches were dug all over the fighting lines, giving troops like a means of movement and also cover from enemy fire, like especially in areas, because a lot of these areas, it's not like they had like established battlefields to go to.
Right.
It was like places people fucking lived, and a lot of places were flat. So you had to dig a spot where you could basically hide. And because of that, if you weren't in the trench and you tried to cross, you would get killed. You get shot. And you'd consistently hear like artillery being fired to try and like inflict damage on the enemy in their trenches. I cannot imagine sitting in a trench hearing this shit happen all around you. And you'd hear gunshots, and anyone who would try and cross that area between trenches would get shot down. And that's an area that's referred to as no man's land, something you might remember from Wonder Woman if you saw the movie. Because they tell her that, and then she has the scene where she crosses the trenches because she is no man.
So I'm really curious. Those battlefields, were the trenches just filled in afterwards?
Yeah.
And so people just built on top of them?
A lot of them are graves, too, because people were just left in there and then just filled in afterwards.
That's crazy.
And if they moved on and they had to retrieve bodies from previous no man's land when they're ever actually able to make progress, it's like you already have graves dug. So
that's so sad.
It's
and so,
really,
but so people live on this land now.
Yeah.
Their houses must be ridiculously haunted.
Right? I mean, that's why we got a lot of poltergeist stories from across the pond.
That's like incredible. Like, just I can't even imagine. Imagine just like having your house, sleeping at night, and all you hear is fucking gunfire because it's just like echoes of history.
Yeah.
That's so intense, dude.
It is. And I mean, it's like we live in America where there was horrible atrocities committed against Native Americans.
Oh,
so
shit,
like I think about that a lot too. So, all right. So after all this stuff is going on, now you have the idea of how horrible war is, which I've definitely hammered into your head at this point, I hope. Christmas Eve came, and something truly bizarre happened on Christmas Eve. Instead of these guys waking up on Christmas Eve to hear the sounds of gunfire and artillery and their friends dying, they heard a different sound coming from across no man's land. They could hear singing. And the soldiers began hearing Christmas carols being sung by their enemies in the trenches across no man's land. So not to be outdone, they started singing right back.
Wow.
And sometimes they were singing different carols. Then sometimes they'd hear a carol they all knew, whether they were German or French or whatever, or British, and they'd all be singing together. And the fighting stopped. They didn't fight on Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas Day, and this is incredible, members of the Allied troops saw something what they still say is miraculous. They saw German soldiers come out of their trenches unarmed and walk across no man's land. And they were singing Christmas carols and saying Merry Christmas. And they were saying Merry Christmas in the native language of the enemies they were approaching. So they were speaking French or English.
Wow.
To say Merry Christmas to them. So at first they're just like, is this a fucking trick?
I was going to say, yeah.
But they didn't shoot them down. You know, they didn't fucking kill them. Even though that's what they were there to do, they got out of their trenches and they did the same. They said Merry Christmas in German, and they sang, and they shook hands, and they ate together, and they drank, and they smoked, and they used the time to retrieve the bodies of their fallen soldiers who had been in no man's land for God knows how long. And this wasn't just like one isolated incident. Like, this was all across front lines in multiple countries.
That is so cool.
A British soldier was like, well, fuck it. And he started playing a game of soccer with both Brits and Germans playing together. And they were all respectful and friendly. And it was just this, like, it was this miracle day in the middle of one of the most horrific wars mankind had ever seen. And then the next day, it's like December 26th, all the commanding officers who didn't know what to do that time was like, okay, let's all go back to killing each other now. And they refused to fight. Like,
wow.
They didn't cross again to hang out again, but the fighting didn't start up again until January of 1915.
That's so cool.
And it was unprecedented. Nothing like it had ever happened before that any living soldier could remember. There might be other instances in history where battles have stopped.
It's like, I don't want to shoot my friend, man.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like, this war sucks, man. Like, and most of the time it's like rich people wage war and poor people die because of it. You know, because poor people are the ones fighting the war. And I think these guys are like, you know what? It's Christmas. They're singing Christmas carols. I'm not shooting them. It's like, we have stuff in common. And I hate that I'm here and I'm terrified for my life. And it's just, it was something that went above war. And it's so awesome that this happened. And it wouldn't happen again because the next subsequent years of the war, officers basically threatened severe punishment to anyone who engaged in any sort of unofficial ceasefire. But for that one Christmas, this war just stopped. And it's bizarre. And I think it's truly miraculous. And I'll go on to my next one, because speaking of war, America has had some wars over here. And we had a war where we were like, no one else gets to play, just us.
Oh my gosh.
And that was called the Civil War for us. And when it ended, the Confederacy admitted defeat. The North had won. And the North had to do this thing where they had to unite the country and bring back in all the states that had seceded.
Yeah.
And also at the same time figure out how to deal with the states that they had previously been at war with. And one really big controversial thing was, how do we handle all the people who fought against us?
Yeah.
Because they're technically American citizens again. They're,
right.
you know, in the Union, but they also fought for a foreign army technically and fought against us. And Abraham Lincoln had the idea when the war was winding down that any Confederate soldier that requested a pardon be granted it. It's like, if you want to come forward and say, like, I request a pardon, I fought for my land, this is over, I want to go back home. It's like they should be pardoned on the spot. And Abraham Lincoln, I don't know if you guys know how quickly it happened, but it was like 4 or 5 days after the war officially ended, it was when he was killed. So like
That's
he didn't get to be part of like figuring out how to take care of this stuff. So Andrew Johnson took over after Abraham Lincoln was killed. And
Andrew Johnson or Andrew Jackson?
Andrew Johnson. So Andrew Johnson honored that, and anyone that came forward to request it was pardoned. And then years went by, 3 years went by, and people still weren't coming forward, and there was still the debate about whether or not they're war criminals. And on Christmas Day, 1868, which is over 3 years after the war had ended, Johnson issued a blanket pardon for all soldiers of the Confederacy. Whether they wanted it or not, they were no longer going to be called like enemy combatants or war criminals. It was just over. Like, it was a war, it ended, and everyone could move forward.
That's really cool.
And it's kind of cool because it was a thing that like would help people move forward so our country could try and heal a little bit, because there was still so much tension. And as like an ironic side note, he was impeached that same year. But I think that this was a super important thing for trying to move forward. And so that one's not as long, but it's still something cool that happened on Christmas. Not exactly a miracle, like it was obviously handled.
But it's like something really nice that happened.
It's something that's very significant that handled on Christmas. A lot of people have been born on Christmas or died on Christmas. Charlie Chaplin died on Christmas.
Wow.
What's his face?
Worst Christmas present ever.
Old Blue Eyes. I forget his name. Dean Martin, I'm pretty sure, died on Christmas. And there's been multiple people born, but I can't remember the people that were born. But this next one is something. Jesus was born on Christmas. I mean, come on. So
Sorry.
Here's a recent one that doesn't involve war, and I really like this. Unless obviously you think love is war, but I hear that love is a battlefield, and I figured you were going to get to that first, but you didn't take it. But this one takes place in 2009, so only 9 years ago. And I would like to point out that this miracle took place 9 years ago to the day, because we're recording this on Christmas Eve. A pregnant woman and her husband were making their way to the hospital, and she was carrying what would be their third child. And during the process of being in the hospital and starting to go through labor, she was administered a local anesthetic, which is extremely common. Anyone who has had a kid can tell you that there are multiple opportunities throughout the process for you to have some sort of anesthesia. And sometimes it doesn't come when it's supposed to, and you want to murder the people that are supposed to administer it. We've heard stories of that this year, especially because we have a lot of friends have kids.
So many babies.
So many babies. And in this particular lady's case, who was named Tracy, her local anesthesia came on time, and she was administered this and then went into cardiac arrest.
What?
And the hospital people freaked out. They were attempting to revive her, and when attempts to revive Tracy reached the several minute period, I think they said 5 minutes, and they were unsuccessful. She hadn't had a heartbeat on her own in 5 minutes. She hadn't been breathing for like 3 because they were breathing for her.
Yeah.
They basically were like, okay, like, she's not coming back. And the hospital's director, she has a specific title, but I wrote down the hospital's director of babies and baby stuff, was present when this happened. She actually walked in a minute before she flatlined. And then she flatlined. She watched them try and resuscitate. And she knew at that point she had to get the baby out. So she performed an emergency C-section.
I'm just thinking about Grey's Anatomy now.
I knew you were going to go to Grey's Anatomy on this one. She was able to get the baby out, but the baby was removed, quote, limp and lifeless.
Oh, no.
They stated in multiple cases that they pronounced the baby as stillborn.
Where's the miracle?
And that's the end. So Merry Christmas. No. So this whole thing is happening, and her husband, whose name is Mike, was just sitting there holding her hand the entire time. Just like fucking shocked. He had no idea what was going on. And the guy's world had just shattered in front of him, and he stated, and this is a quote from him, Half of my family was lying there right in front of me, and there's no other way to say it. They were dead. I lost all feeling once her heartbeat stopped. I felt like mine did too. In the hospital, Mike stated that she was, this is Tracy, was pale gray from the lack of blood flow. And he stated, quote, I sat there with my wife's hand in mine, ice cold. And then suddenly, and they don't know why, her heart just started beating again.
That's crazy.
And
Do you think it was like the anesthetic that was running through her that was causing it, and then once it like wore off?
Typically, when anesthetics administered to your system, if it has an effect on you, they can inject something that will counter that.
Oh, okay.
So that you don't have to go through 5 minutes of, cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
But they had no idea what was going on. They just realized, like, oh, wow, like, she just came back.
What about the baby?
This is the thing, though. They performed a C-section on her, and they were thinking she was dead, and they performed a C-section on her. So immediately they're like, oh, shit, we have to take her into emergency surgery to finish this C-section, or else she's going to die again. So she was no longer this deceased mother who had a baby inside of her. She was a living mother who needed to be put back together. So they wheeled her out and began finishing the operation. And the next detail is different depending on where you read it, but I happened to find an interview with Mike where he states that he was holding his infant son who wasn't breathing, and they wheeled his wife away. And they would name the son Colton because the wife got wheeled away, and suddenly Colton began breathing. And his wife who had died and his baby who was a stillborn all of a sudden had their heart start beating, and they started breathing again on their own.
Why was the baby called Colton?
They named him Colton.
Oh,
I'm just giving you the detail that the baby has a name because the baby is alive.
And
not a stillborn.
Because the way you said it was like, oh, they named him Colton.
No, it's like he has a name now because like I'm letting you know that this is about to turn out well. And I'm sure doctors were trying to do what they could still, like, to Colton to like try and get things turned around. But Mike states that like this was an amazing feeling. I got to be there for that first breath. Literally, it's just an absolute miracle. There's no rhyme or reason that either of them should be here. And Dr. Martin, who was the head of the baby stuff for the hospital, stated that she had no professional opinion on how either of them revived. It's a medical mystery, and she is quoted as saying, quote, from my personal perspective, I will take help wherever I can get it.
Not even Dr. Shepard could tell you.
I hate you so much. So that's a miracle that I remember hearing about in 2009 when it happened, and I think about that like every Christmas. Like, I wonder if they're okay. And like follow-ups that I've tried to like research on them. I know she's still alive. I was able to find her. Colton is a minor, so I'm definitely not going to do too much digging to see if like he's still okay. But like these people died. Like, this child was born stillborn, and this mom died for 5 minutes. And all the attempts to resuscitate failed, and then they just came back. And
it's like in 101 Dalmatians where he takes Lucky.
I hate you so much.
Lucky's not breathing, so he's like, and yet I wonder. And he like rubs Lucky a little bit, and he comes back to life, and it's so good. It's such a good movie.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing as a animated dog movie and a human being and her baby. But it's a really nice story, and it's 100% true. And it's something that happened on Christmas Eve. And I think like stuff like that happens a lot.
We're hearing a lot of sirens tonight.
Yes, so I'm hoping whoever is like involved in those sirens is okay. But I don't know. I think Christmas is a really, really fun time because you find all this stuff going on around Christmas that's sort of miraculous. And it's like, it's the same with whatever holiday you celebrate. Like, this is just the season of like celebration, like of the things that matter in your life. And I know, like, I've talked to people before, they're like, I hate Christmas because it's all about buying gifts and wasting money and it's materialistic. And it's like, not if you do it with the right people and not if you're doing it the right way. And before I end my part of the podcast, I want to say that if you look up something like Christmas miracles, you'll find so many accounts of things that have happened to a bunch of people all over the world. And what's cool is that there's so many things where like these bizarre events of chance play out to make something very fortunate unfold. And I'm sure some of our listeners have stories like that, of crazy things that have happened, like fortuitous things that have happened around Christmas time. And I 100% encourage you to send us those emails, like email storytime@scarish.com. And that said, I have a story of a Christmas miracle.
Story.
Yeah. And I refer to it as, quote, the Christmas miracle.
Okay.
And if my family hears me say the Christmas miracle.
Oh my God, is this your party?
Yes, they know what I'm talking about. So this happened when I was 18. It was right before I moved out of my parents' house. Shocker. And this was the first Christmas that I would have where I wasn't in high school anymore. We were in college. And I had this group of friends that were very, very close. We were like a family. And we decided that we wanted to have a gift exchange. Because we're like, hey, we're adults. We're in college. Like, let's have people that want to, jump into a Secret Santa all get together and we'll exchange gifts on a day, and we'll pick a day. And we're like, well, we can't do Christmas or Christmas Eve because we all have family stuff. So we'll do Christmas Eve's Eve. So it's the 23rd. And we had, I think, 13 or 14 people involved in this Secret Santa gift exchange, which I totally had to rig because people were like, oh, I don't know what to get that person, but I could get this person something. So I, did my like Matt Damon, like Goodwill Hunting thing on the whiteboard until I figured out like, this one looks good. Everyone will be happy with this. And then we had friends who didn't want to participate because they didn't have money or they might not be home. So we only had like 13 people. And then like more people wanted to come. They just weren't participating. And the thing about college that you forget or you just don't know at first because, it's your first year in college.
Everyone gets drunk.
Everyone comes home because everyone's at different schools. You all split apart. But then when Christmas hits, you're on Christmas break. Everyone comes back. And so we were supposed to have like 15 to 20 people, which isn't too big of a party. It's not too outside the norm. My parents used to sleep like rocks. They'd be upstairs. We go into the basement. That's why I have fond basement memories. Because we had a pool table, we had couches, we had a TV, we had stereo. And we weren't so loud that it would ever wake my parents up. So we have about 15, 20 people. We do our gift exchange. And the thing I kept hearing that night is someone say like, hey, so-and-so's in town. Can they come over?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, it's Christmas. Absolutely they can come over. And it happened so many times. And then that person would get there with an extra person. And they would be like, hey, so-and-so's also in town. Can they come over? And I'm getting drunker and drunker at this point, and we're 18. And I was like, yeah, sure, have them come over. So the house is getting really, really, really full. So now like my entire basement is full. And this was a big house. The entire basement is full. And the lower level is full of people. It's a huge party. It's probably 65 to 70 people. Easy. And we had a big front yard, and my entire driveway is full, and my entire yard is full of fucking cars. And then I have a friend come over, and her name, I'm just going to use an alias, her name was Danielle. And so Danielle gets there, and she's trying to park, and because it's snowy and icy on the roads, she slides into my ditch, the ditch in front of my house.
Yeah.
And she comes inside and she goes and talks to this guy who she knows at the party. And she's like, hey, so-and-so, I'll give him a name. We'll just say Dickie. She goes up to Dickie and she's like, hey, I went into the ditch. Can some of you guys come help me get out? And Dickie's like, don't worry about no ditch, baby. Like, everything's fine. Let me get you a drink. Because he's trying to get into her pants. So he convinces her not to worry about it. And we're all partying.
Oh, God, please.
Until someone knocks on the door. And I'm like, why the fuck are they knocking? My parents are sleeping. Like, just come in. So, like, I start walking to the door, and someone looks out the peephole, and they just yell so it can be heard on the other side of the door.
It's the cops!
Oh, shit, it's the cops. And everyone fucking scatters and hides. And there was 2 people that were 21 or older. My brother, who was 22, and a friend of ours who had just turned 21, who we knew from high school, who was a year below my brother. And so we're like, fuck, we are going to jail on Christmas Eve's Eve. Everyone's parents are going to be pissed. And my parents are still asleep. And there's like 4 cop cars in front of my house. So I'm like, okay, this is really, really bad. And everyone's super drunk. So I'm like, everyone get in the fucking basement. It's going to be standing room only. But hey, we're going to figure this out. So my brother goes outside to talk to the police. And this is Northwest Indiana on December 23rd. So it's like 0 degrees.
Yeah.
And he's wearing jeans and a t-shirt because he didn't put on a coat before he went out there. And so the cop asks for his ID. This is details my brother gave me from the story later. The cop asks for his ID. He gives it to him. And then he tucked it behind his belt. Like the cop was like tucking it behind his belt. Like it's just an asshole move. It's a power move. Like, well, I'm going to put this wherever the fuck I want it now. And I'm not going to give it back to you until I'm ready. So he tucks it behind his belt and he starts asking to come inside. My brother's like, no, I don't think anyone will like that. We're just having a family Christmas and that would really like disturb everything. And my brother's bullshitting and everyone's in the basement. And I'm like, hey, I'm not going to judge anyone, but no one lie to me right now or I will break your fucking head open. I need to know who has drugs and I need to know right now. And at least half of those people raise their hands. And I'm like, fuck me. I'm like, all right, here's all the hide. I'm like, first of all, like, grab some cardboard boxes and cover up the only 2 windows that show you into this fucking basement because those cops are going to come looking here in a second. So we covered the fucking windows, showed everyone where they could hide whatever the fuck they had. And then we're just sitting there waiting. And waiting and waiting. And we're listening to the door every now and then. And they were there because Danielle's car was in the ditch. And they tried to knock to let us know to move the car before they towed it. And we couldn't fucking hear them because we were partying too hard. And so they were like, we're going to have you stay out here with us until the tow truck comes, and then we're going to tow the car, and then we're going to come inside. My brother's just like, you can't come inside without a warrant. I'm very aware of that. You can tow the car. It's fine. And they're like, well, if the person comes out to move it, that's fine. So he's texting me, and I'm like, she's drunk. She's 19. There's no way in hell she's going outside.
Right.
So she's like, I'd rather have my fucking car towed than have to face my parents tonight. So the cops keep coming. There's like 12 squad cars in front of my fucking house at this point.
Legitimately 12 or over-exaggerating?
Legitimately. Because in Northwest Indiana, the cops have nothing to do except like have this huge bust of a bunch of fucking college kids who are just trying to party. So that's not the first time there was 12 cop cars in front of my house, but that's my brother's story. So we're all freaking out. And I have a friend. I used to have this bed where, like, you know, you have drawers in the side of your bed.
Yeah.
Half of them weren't there. So I just pushed it up against the wall. So if you open like the little door in front of the bed, you could crawl under the bed. And I used to have like my cat's litter box under there and like a cat bed, but I got rid of the cat and I had a pillow and a blanket down there for anyone who stayed the night that wanted to like sleep in like this little cove. It was like a Harry Potter room. And I had 2 friends who had ran upstairs to hide under the bed so they wouldn't get arrested. And one of them had this idea. He needed to call his relatives who lived like a mile or 2 down the road and tell them all, because he had a lot of family there, to all call and report some suspicious guy driving around the neighborhood looking into windows. And he called all of them. And my brother had been out there for almost an hour. He's probably hypothermic at this point. And he told me he heard the cops get a call that there was a suspicious male driving around Lake Eliza right down the street, like looking into all the windows like he was going to break in. And they got multiple calls reporting this. And this is all my friend's family calling. And so the cops like have a little powwow like, well, what the fuck are we going to do? And so finally they're like, look, that tow truck's going to tow the car. They did. Then they all just left. They left us alone. And the best part is when all this shit's happening, my parents never woke up.
There's no way.
They never did. They slept through the whole fucking thing. My brother came inside. He was super fucking cold to the touch. We felt so bad. We like wrapped him in blankets. And it took hours for people to leave because they were terrified the cops were just waiting. And like, we didn't know why they left until the next morning when my friend was like, oh yeah, like I had my family call them. It took me an hour to think of it, but man, that worked. And they all left and we didn't get in trouble and my parents didn't even know. And then the 24th, the day after it happened, like everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm telling my parents. And I was like, wait, this is a really good story. So we fucking all go to family Christmas. And my grandma on my Puerto Rican side was there. And she's like 85. And she's just like this mean old lady. And she could just rip you apart with her words if she wants to. And she was sitting there. And I was like, I'm going to tell this fucking story right now in front of my whole family. Because my dad and my mom are going to be furious. And they won't do anything to me because grandma's right there. And I told that story. And my whole fucking family was dying. And I thought my parents were going to be so pissed. My mom thought it was hilarious, and she's like, that's the most brilliant idea I've ever heard, is to call the cops and have them lured away. And we were all convinced, like, anyone who had a scholarship was like, I'm getting arrested, I'm losing my scholarship, my parents are going to murder me. And hey, everything worked out.
Yeah, Christmas miracle.
It was a Christmas miracle. That's what I have always thought of it as, is it was a Christmas miracle, and those cops were just like, all right, we'll leave, whatever. And my brother was out there just fucking talking to the cops for an hour in a t-shirt in like 0-degree weather because he's a badass. That's just what he does. So, yeah, that's my personal story. It's like a fun note to end this on. No wars or like stillborns involved in this one. And the last...
Just good old drunken fun.
Exactly. A last postscript I'll leave to that story is that it was December 23rd and Danielle's car got towed. And the impound people towed it and then left for the holidays, and she didn't get it back until January 5th.
Wow.
And she was like, I lost my car. My parents were so fucking... She was the only one that got in trouble for that because she was the only one that got caught because she didn't have a car afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's what you get for trying to hunt for some dick the moment you get in my party. So, fun stuff. I hope you guys learned a lesson from that, and that is... I don't know, lie to the cops? I don't know. That's probably a bad lesson.
Don't shout, it's the cops.
Yeah, never shout, it's the cops. Because that was one of the things the cops said was like, if that's a family gathering, how come we heard someone yell, oh shit, it's the cops? And my brother was like, well, I mean, you're the cops. Like, you scare people. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was a very magical experience for me when I was younger. And I'm realizing it's been 15 years since the Christmas miracle because I'm old as fuck. So
We're getting up there.
Yeah, indeed. So that's everything that we have, I think, for episode 55 of Scarish Podcast, unless you can think of anything else.
No.
Awesome. And I'll just give like one last shout out to anyone who's going to those holiday events that might be listening to this on the way or is coming home from that. I know like I grew up in a really fun environment and Christmas was amazing and I got to spend it with my families and we enjoyed each other's presence. And that is not the case for everyone. Some people dread the holidays and you have to be around people who are going to treat you like shit.
Right.
And you are allowed to create a new tradition or just do something on the holidays that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And if you're going to a place that is toxic and not good for you, like
don't put up with it.
Absolutely do not put up with that. Because it's like you're supposed to be around people who treat you right and make you happy during the holidays. And like if you're one of those people who like go out there who are like, I'm going to pick a fight, I'm going to be shitty to someone, I'm going to say something uncomfortable because I want to mess with someone, like you are a grade A asshole and you are better off staying at home because you're doing that because you're miserable and you want to make other people miserable, and you'd be happier at home by yourself and everyone else would be happier if you stayed home. So stay your miserable, lonely ass at home. And that's just going to be about everything that I have to say about that. So I'm just going to do the wrap up. And again, we did the homegrown horn. I didn't do my normal rigmarole spiel, but if you guys want to reach out to us, if you folks want to reach out to us with anything, please feel free to email storytime@scarish.com. You can message us on facebook.com/scarishpodcast. You can go to scarish.com and fill out the contact form. Scarish.com also has all the links to our social medias.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We has it all.
Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod. Spooky Friends group on the Facebook you can join and post for some instant feedback. Our Discord for some instant feedback. However you want to get a hold of us. If you want to mail us anything, we got some wonderful stuff from you folks. I don't know if it's for Christmas or you just send it to our P.O. Box, but our P.O. Box is on the contact us thing on the website. By the time you hear this, we're going to have some unboxing videos up on Christmas,
hopefully.
Which will be really fun, unless everything goes terribly wrong. But I'm excited to open those, and I very much appreciate the stuff that you guys send us. So the wonderful feedback we get from you folks is amazing.
Yeah.
The support is fantastic. Please go over to iTunes and leave us a review and a rating if you haven't done that yet. And Robin, how can people reach out to us monetarily if they'd like to?
So we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/scarishpodcast. We have had so much support from you guys, and it's absolutely amazing. If you guys go there, tiers start at $1, and every little bit helps. We're this close to going to the Winchester Mansion. If you go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast, please support us and help us make this like more of our job.
Yeah.
Than it is now.
We would absolutely love it if we can move into that, and it'd be super cool.
Yeah, it'd be amazing if you want to do one-time donations. ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. All those donations go to helping us upgrade our studio
And
setup.
we got our camera early, so if we can get things worked out, we might have just a brand new look. At least like resolution wise on Wednesday for our live show.
It won't be fish lens,
which we are still going to be doing. Just because of the holiday season doesn't mean we won't be doing it on Wednesday, and it'll be the last show of December. And any donations that you guys make live on the show on twitch.tv/scarishpodcast will go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So we're not near our goal.
No,
but we would prefer to be.
Kiddos.
So jump on there and help us out, help us get there, because we want to give a nice donation to Make-A-Wish. And you can also watch us on youtube.com/scarish. So those are the ways that you can watch us later on the week. And all of our episodes are also on YouTube. So if you want to check us out and you don't have a podcast app or whatever, you don't get to use your cell phone at work.
Head over to YouTube.
And YouTube's not blocked. Yeah, head over there. So I think that's just about everything that we normally do.
Yeah.
And I just want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. We hope it's fun and we hope you have fun.
Happy Krampus.
Happy Krampus to all of you who are beating your children with switches right now. So we wish you only the shiniest of horns and the clankiest of chains. So I think that's everything. So I'll take the sign out this week.
Oh, wait, I want to do a special shout out to my little sister. And I want to say, da-da-da-wee.
I hate you so much. That is funny, though. Inside joke from Robin to her sister. So, okay, that's everything. So keep on creeping on. And we will talk to you and see you guys this Wednesday and next week.